Hi guys, so this is just a video illustrating some different properties of partitioning. I thought I would do a video that shows you specifically a formula and a way to use that formula because I know that's very helpful for some of you. So here we have a problem. It's asking us to partition from left to right with a ratio of 2 to 3. Now the direction you are partitioning is important. We're going to do two different types of formula in two different directions, so just keep an eye on that. Alright, so this is our formula, and you can see it's kind of just a way to lay out exactly what you've been doing by hand in the Khan Academy videos. So you have your initial x value, and then you're just adding on a fraction of the distance between your two x values to get your new x value. And I'm sorry that the video keeps focusing and unfocusing. I'm going to try to figure that out before I do another video, but it's just what I've got right now. So let's list out all of the different things that could go in our formula. So we have our first point. It's not showing up very well. Our first point is -1, -2. Our second point is 4, 5. And our ratio is 2 to 3. So that's what we know right now. And then that gives us everything that we need in order to use the formula. So our first point is our x sub 1 and y sub 1. Our second point is our x sub 2 and y sub 2. And our ratio is a to b. Okay, so all we have to do now is substitute into the formula for those things that we have here. So anywhere I see x sub 1, I'm going to put -1. Anywhere I see y sub 1, I'm going to put -2, and so forth. So after I do that substitution, this is what I'll have. So it's going to be -1 plus a over a plus b, so that's 2 over 2 plus 3 times x sub 2 is 4 minus x sub 1 is -1. So we do have a double negative there. We've got to be careful of that. Y sub 1 is -2. Plus, again, we have that 2 over 2 plus 3 for a over a plus b. And then y sub 2 is 5 minus a negative again. Okay, so that's what we've got after we just do the substitution. So obviously there does need to be some simplification down here. We should have one number for x and one number for y. So let's start doing some of that simplification. So we've got, I'll just carry down the -1 plus, and then 2 over 2 plus 3 is just 2 over 5 times 4 minus -1. Double negative, that's an addition. So 4 plus 1 is what it really says. It's 5. Okay, I'm going to carry this through to a single number and then do the other side. So -1 and then 2/5 times 5. You can do that in your calculator if you want, but it's just 2. -1 plus 2. So negative 1 plus 2 is just 1. So that's going to be the x value for our point here. And to get the y value, we just have to simplify this side. So I'm going to keep my negative 2 over 5. And then 5 minus negative 2 would be 5 plus 2, which is 7. Right? Okay, and again, you can just do this in your calculator, and it comes out to be negative 2 plus 14 over 5, which if you convert it to a decimal in your calculator, you do the common, that's a 2.8. It's 14 over 5 is 2.8. So negative 2 plus 2.8 is just 0.8 for your y value. So our partition point, which is what we were trying to find with this crazy long formula, is going to wind up being 1, comma, 0.8. So 1 for x and 0.8 for y. And if we look at that point on our graph, right, 1.8, that falls on our line. Now this brings up kind of an important point as to why we're using the formula here and not the visual methods that you were looking at on Khan Academy, and that is when you're dealing with decimal numbers or fraction numbers, which some of these will turn out to be decimals, it's important that you know how to use the formula rather than just visualization. Okay, so we're going to look at another version of this formula. This version works fine, it works well, but it's not my favorite version. I like this version. And I like it because it's a lot simpler looking. The math is a lot more simple. It doesn't make as much sense visually because you can't really see that you're doing the multiplications with the distances and stuff. But it's really just your original formula after you've multiplied through with the fraction and done the additions and stuff. It's just a simplified version of that formula. Okay, so let's look at this. All right. So we're just going to do the same exact thing that we did before. So our first point here, well, not the same exact thing because we are going from right to left this time instead of left to right. So our first point here is actually going to be point B. But we're using the same ratio. So point B is our first point. That's 4, 5. Point A is our second point. Okay, but our ratio, like I said, is still the same. Alright, so again, your first point is your x sub 1, y sub 1. Your second point is your x sub 2, y sub 2. And the ratio is still A to B. Okay? So the first steps here, very, very similar. We're going to do that substitution step now. So the substitution step starts with b times x sub 1. So that'll be 3 times 4 plus 2 for your a times x sub 2, negative 1, over, and then b plus a, 3 plus 2. Okay. And then for your y's, 3 times 5 plus 2 times -2. And again, that's just 3 for b, and then 5 for y sub 1. And the same thing here, we're just substituting in over 3 plus 2. Okay, so that's my substitution step. And then from there, it's just solving out. So 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times -1 is -2. And then 3 plus 2 is still 5. So we've got 15 plus -4 over 5. And then, so that's 10 over 5 and 11 over 5, which you can simplify those, convert them to decimal form, and you get 2, and then 11 over 5 is 2.2 for your y value. So our y values for both of these have been decimal numbers, which I think is fine. You know, that's a completely valid answer. It's just important for you to realize that those decimal numbers are a lot easier to get with the formula than they are just by looking graphically. So let's graph that. 2 and then 2.2. You can see that it's on the line. Okay, so I just want to take just a minute at the end of this video to compare the two problems that we did. You can rewatch this video as many times as you need to. You can pause it. You can go back and forth. You can call me on Zoom and ask me questions. If anybody spots an error in this video and they want to report it, you can get extra credit for doing that. Alright, so these are the two problems that we did. You can see this one goes from left to right and this one from right to left. And we've got two entirely different points here. You can see from left to right, we went 2/5 of the way, and then we had 3/5 left to go. That's what this ratio 2 to 3 really means. You take the first number, you put that on top of your ratio. So the first number is on top, and then you add them up for the bottom, which you can see that that's in our formula too. So we're looking at 2/5 of the way along the segment in the direction we're going. And that's what your partition point really means. So this one is 2/5 of the way from A to B. This one is 2/5 of the way from B to A. So they wound up in slightly different spots. And so you need to be careful with how you're reading the problems and making sure that you're going in the correct direction. But I think you guys got this. Just let me know if you have any problems, and I'll be here for you.